Temporal here, and today we are continuing our series on which heroes to learn right now. We have previously done DPS and tanks, linked down in the description below. And why would there ever be a hey, this is the time to learn it right now question? And the answer to that really has to do with hey, when heroes are meta, they are easier to learn. You can absolutely learn a hero when it's not meta, but you're going to have to be playing it uphill into situations that you need some practice in, but you don't want to practice a hero a ton. Practicing it some into situations it's bad in, that's helpful, yes, but practicing it in more situations where it's average or it's good or is favorable to it, you would like to get some more practice with those situations if you really want to incorporate it into your pool, because you do want to be able to play a hero when it's good. If you later want to play it on a team, or if you later want to be able to swap to it when it's advantageous to swap to climb, that sort of thing. So we're going to get into the supports here. Some of you may have ideas, but the things that we'll be thinking about to sort of help our placement, help what to think about will be, or how can you do this? If I don't have a video for you 2 months from now on an updated list, or as the metas have changed, how can you go about figuring out this yourself? Well, there's a couple things. Look at the top, say, 20 or so from the top 500 ladder. Take a look at those players, see what they're playing. That is not enough by itself for you to draw conclusions. You've got to sample out anyone who's maybe specializing, trying to learn a hero themselves. Doesn't make sense, so get rid of any outliers, that sort of thing. You also have to factor in a lower portion of the ladder. Understand that the gold meta is going to be different than the 4300 meta, for example. So this isn't enough by itself. Another place we can look is, okay, what is pro play doing right now? That's helpful. Fortunately, I will be able to provide that expertise for this video. Even though we don't have Owl going on right now, we do still have some Tier 3 tournaments going on, some collegiate tournaments going on, contenders dipping in here and there in terms of, oh, maybe they invite contenders, a couple contenders teams to a few of these Tier 3 tournaments, that sort of thing. And then we do need to, like I said, really go, okay, what is the meta in your portion of the ladder? So you might have to play some games to see that. You might have to look around a little bit. Hey, I have a pretty good idea of what most of the ladder looks like. I've done way too many VOD reviews. That's fine. We have all that information. So we're going to take a look here by starting. We'll look over here. We're on combined. We don't want that. We want to jump over to support and see what's being played in support. So as we take a look here, we can see in support that we have supports. And we see a ton of Zen. A lot of Zen. Okay. We see any more Zens that I missed? No. Let's get some Baps. See quite a bit of Bap. Just as much Bap as Zen. Maybe even a little more Bap than Zen. Okay. And then our next most common one looks like it's going to be Anna. So let's just do a quick... We're just doing this just to sort of make it visually obvious to us. Okay. And then we've got an even amount of... We have one more Brig than Lucio. But we can see Zen, Bap, Anna. We've sort of given ourselves an input there. Okay. Makes sense. Nothing too outlier-wise here except maybe the Brig or the Lucio. And then we're going to jump onto this next page, and we're going to go, hey, again, what do we have? Let's look at our BAP as one color here, just to help our eyeballs see it. Let's get Zen, because we know we had a lot of that from the last page. Doesn't feel like there's quite as much Zen, so it looks like BAP is winning out over Zen. And then what do we see here? It looks like Brig, Lucio, somewhat balanced. Brig may be winning out a little bit here. Not as much Anna as we saw on the previous page, but I'll go ahead and highlight the Anna since we did highlight that on the other page. Really not as much here, but there was more Anna on the last page than this page. So we've looked at the top 20. That tells us something about what's going on. Okay, but we're going to have to balance that with other information. So what is going on in the professional scene? Okay, well, if we look at organized play, scrims, that sort of thing, we're still seeing some Zen Ball, we're seeing some double shield, we're seeing some Brawl. It's still pretty balanced. It's probably a little heavier in poke than it was previously. It's still got quite a bit of Ball going on. Okay, some Ball, some Bunker, little less Brawl, but Brawl definitely exists. Okay, that tells us Zen, Bap, Brig, Lucio, those are all heroes that get played. Little less on the Lucio front, but Zen, Brig, Bap, those are all heroes that get played in organized play. Those are really the top 3 that are going to get played in organized play right now. Okay, that makes sense. And then we need to factor in, like, is it different lower on the ladder? Is it different on the top of the ladder? You're going to see poke comps. And in fact, we've done our tank video already, so I can just show you guys what we see here. We see lots of Sigma, lots of Roadhog. We should see a little more Orisa, but we really don't. And then sometimes we'll see some Zarya instead of a Sigma or a Roadhog there. Okay, so we know that there's a fair amount of poke because those are all off-tank comps, except when using Orisa, and off-tank comps have to play like poke comps where it's double off-angle poke. Well, your poke supports are going to be Zen and Bap. That makes sense. And then your Zen sometimes might swap over to Brig to harden your backline if your Zen Baptist isn't quite strong enough against the Tracers, the Hammonds, those sort of things that are showing up. Okay, so as we go down the ladder, do we see more or less of that? Well, we're still going to see quite a bit of poke as we move down the ladder to the metal ranks. You are going to see more brawl than you would higher on the ladder. So that's going to suggest, hey, there might be a little bit more Reinhardt, that sort of thing. There's not going to be more dive as you go down the ladder, though. Dive heroes aren't run particularly well lower down on the ladder. They're even not run particularly well higher on the ladder. It's not quite exclusively organized play, but they're run better in organized play than they are in ladder play traditionally, whereas brawl is going to be more common in ladder play than in than it might naturally reflect in organized play. So maybe there's a little more room for a Lucio, a Bap, a Moira than there would be otherwise. So where does that bring us? Well, let's get into what we all actually want to know. What heroes would we recommend? I think we have our information. I think we look at this and go, hey, Bap is going to be good based on what we're seeing in the top 20. Bap is going to be good based on if you move lower down the ladder where you see more brawl. Bap is still an excellent brawl support. Bap has a lot of ability to take control of matches with his ability to deal a lot of healing, deal a lot of damage. Damage comes at a premium. If you guys want to know more, you can see my How to Carry on Support video that I put up on the channel recently, where I talked about, with all these supports, what they need to do to get more offensive contribution to help them win there. So Bap, unfortunately in my mind, but doesn't matter, that's just my opinion, is the top tier support for learning right now. Like if you go, hey, if I don't know any supports and I want to add a support, or if I want to add a support that's among the top tier supports in my pool because it's going to be easier to learn them right now, Bap is the #1 choice. But behind that, we're going to go ahead and add in Zen. That's not too surprising based on what we saw here. There was quite a bit of Zen. No real surprise there. That makes sense. But now I probably am going to surprise people a little bit. Even though we see Ana as the next most popular hero here, and I don't really think I have to explain Zen. Zen is fantastic both because Zen is going to help you in the poke comps because you can run that Bap plus Zen. Zen is amazing. Zen can really make a difference. Zen does a lot of damage. Discord Orb is extremely valuable, but then also, at the higher end of the ladder, will get run in the dive comps, the ball comps that you still see come out to play. So hey, if we're still going to see the occasional ball comp along with these double off-tank comps, Zen makes sense in that. He is the support that drives that. If Zen works in the poke comps, okay, Zen makes a lot of sense. Now, based on pick rates, next we would see Ana, but that's not actually what we're going to go with. What we're going to go with next is Brig. And why are we going with Brig? Well, again, we can think of this from like an organized standpoint of, okay, we know the comps that are actually driving this. We know what's going on from an organized play standpoint. We also know what's going on in terms of we can see what the meta is by looking through the tanks, by looking through the DPS here. I'll jump us over to damage real quick, and we're going to see that's a poke hero, that's a poke hero, that's a couple poke heroes. Bunch of Echo poke, some Ashe poke, lots of Hanzo poke, and then a little bit of Genji and Tracer to try to keep some of that poke in check. So we have an idea of what's going on there. And if we have an idea of what's going on there, we know it's being played. Okay, again, poke combination right here. Brig would be that hero that makes sense to go, hey, this will protect our poke heroes. This will help check those DPS heroes that were coming out to try to check our poke heroes. So that's what's going on. That makes some degree of sense. She generally gets played as an answer to dive heroes. She enables dive heroes pretty well, so if you're in a situation where instead the Genji, the Tracer, whatever on your team, fine, you can go ahead and send them packs. So she makes sense here. I have to say, though, that this skews upwards. If I was looking at more metal ranks for this, like I'm putting this in a somewhat balanced situation, if I was looking at more metal ranks for this one, I would probably move her down because the dive heroes are simply not played as well. You're going to see more brawl heroes, which means at the expense of dive heroes, you're not going to feel as threatened by the dive heroes because, again, Tracer is rather famous for not having that positive win rate until the mechanics get quite a bit better. You look at that sort of stuff, I would, if I was looking at this from a lower standpoint on the ladder, move her down. If you're looking at the top of the ladder, this makes sense. In fact, let's make a gap for her. Let's make a compromise because we're trying to analyze the whole ladder here and go ahead and put our third hero in this same tier as Anna. We'll do that. Why is Anna seeing so much play? Like, Anna is going to get run in a lot of the same situations that you'd want to run Bap plus Zen. If you look lower on the ladder, you might see Bap plus Anna. That's a silly amount of healing, but a fairly common comp, and it allows two flex supports to play together if there's no main support player, or if the main support doesn't trust the flex support can do their job. Because unfortunately, the reality of Overwatch is on ladder, having a good flex support is more important than having a good main support. I know, it sucks. So that would be, hey, let's put Anna in here as a bit of a compromise. If you move up, I'd move her down. But what's going on here? Why so much Anna? Well, Anna's got a couple things going on. From an organized standpoint, yeah, she enables Winston comps. You'll still see the occasional double bubble. It's not terrible. That's fine. But what's really going on here is the Anna is coming in as a check for all the Roadhogs. There's a lot of Roadhog running around. We know that there's a lot of Roadhog running around. Bap and Zen are better than Anna right now. That's reality. That's how it works. But because there's so much Roadhog running around, if Roadhog is really going on a tear and shutting down your team, you can say, hey, Discord Orb should be better. Hey, Bap's stupid amount of pressure between the healing he does and the damage he does should be better. But just countering all of Roadhog with Sleep Dart. Sleep Dart will interrupt. Sleep Dart can mess up a hook. Sleep Dart will stop pull hog. Sleep Dart will, of course, stop breather. Anti-nade. Oh, the breather isn't healing anymore. Anti-nade. Oh, might save the person who got hooks, mess up hog a little bit. Anna's abilities counter Roadhog's abilities. Anna's pretty good against Roadhog. Not too wild if a Roadhog specifically is doing too much work on the other team to swap into that Anna there. And then it's also just, a little easier to drive than Zen for a lot of people. She can protect herself a little bit better than Zen if you're running into some of those better tracers, or if you feel like your team just isn't paying any attention to you from a peeling standpoint. So, hey, we'll put her as the third choice, kind of as a compromise to balancing the top and the bottom of the ladder here. So what do we get into next? Well, unfortunately, I'd put a gap here. I would put a gap here. Like, this is a gap tier, an empty tier right here. And I'd put these two next. And there's not too much to say about these. You can try to put Mercy in like we're looking at our poke comps. We're going to play Mercy in this way where, hey, we'll play Mercy in this. We can boost our BAP or we can boost our Zen, and that makes it better. And it's instead of a Brig, or it's instead of the second poke support. And she is a poke support, and it's great, but she doesn't do quite as much poke as the poke support would. Like, they took away her breakpoints. Yes, she's not as nearly as strong a peel as the Brig is, and she's also not as strong a poke as the, running a Zen is, or running a BAP is, that sort of thing, and you can run Zen plus BAP. So she should be in that in-the-middle compromise. Most of the time, doesn't really work out that way. You can justify it a little bit better if you've got a strong Echo, a Pharah, an Ashe, something along those lines. Maybe we're not going to do a gap tier. Let's just put her right here, actually. You can do that, but the reality is you already have, between these three, lots of good solutions for almost any scenario that you'd run into. She's not going to be in the most amazing place. That said, as you move down the ladder, she is going to become a better choice than Brig, as divers are less dangerous as you move down the ladder. You can sort of do a Mercy for the lower half, Brig for the upper half type thing. And by half, I don't actually mean half. I really mean more metal rank versus not metal rank, which, metal rank is a significantly larger portion of the ladder than non-metal ranks there. Then we move into Lucio. Again, Lucio might make a little more sense as you go down the ladder to put him a little bit higher, but honestly, this is about the right place for him throughout. Yes, you're still going to play Lucio if you see that your team locks Winston, Moira, Reaper, Tracer. Okay, yeah, you're going to go ahead and play Lucio plus Moira in that situation. Yes, if your team locks Reinhardt and you've got a BAP and you're in a high-level game, you're probably going to lock Lucio. In the lower-level games, you can lock it too, absolutely. But the next best solution for a Reinhardt behind Lucio plus a throughput healer is going to be 2 throughput healers. It's a bad solution, but it is the next best solution, and you do have those options already with Bap plus Anna or even Bap plus Zen. I know Zen isn't a throughput healer, but he relieves so much pressure by discording the other side that it's the same thing. So that's sort of what you're looking at here. And then Moira's going to be your last choice. This is not a particularly good time to learn Moira. This really isn't a particularly good time to learn Mercy or Lucio either. But Moira is at her best when she's enabling tighter comps. That could be 6-man. That's the, real comp that she's good at enabling. She can do okay at enabling Reinhardt-style comps as well. BAP works better because BAP just is a better version. BAP can support angles, and better brawl comps are going to use angles. She really is no, we're just running them right over comp, and that really mostly comes down to the, Winston plus D.Va. Hey, we're just running them over Winston, D.Va, Reaper, Tracer, Sombra, something along those lines with a Lucio. That's not totally real for ladder. You can see that in higher level games. It's not that hard to run, but you won't see that a ton on lower. So you might be running Moira just to go, hey, you don't feel totally comfortable with your aim, or hey, you want to build those fast coalescences. Even so, she works better when she has Reinhardts to work with. She does not work nearly as well when she has to throw a bunch of healing into the Orisa, for example. She's just not putting out enough damage pressure herself. She can heal the Orisa, but the Orisa should be taking damage somewhat intermittently. You might feel like, oh no, I can use her to heal all the Hog Zarya combinations that are running around. Things like that. Since there's no Reinhardts running around, my tanks take so much damage, I really need to heal them. I really need to just be able to put a ton of fire hose healing into them. That might seem attractive, but the reality is you actually just have to win fights faster. And to win fights faster, it's really going to come down to these two, to a lesser degree her, mostly to your BAP plus Zen. Those are going to win fights faster. Just trying to heal your Hog Zarya, your Sigma D.Va, your Hog D.Va that are just taking entirely too much damage is not going to be able to get you back into these fights. You really do need to have situations where she can keep her pressure up, and she really can't when there's the level of poke going on that you're mostly seeing go on right now. So this is what I would look at as the overall combined sort of rating here. Again, if you're moving up the ladder, you could move Brig over here. I wouldn't necessarily do that because, again, this Anna swap is really hey, recognizing on the ladder that Hog specifically is giving your team too much trouble. Most of the time, these two will just be better. She'll be a situational swap. Mercy really is hey, we have a great Echo, a great Pharah, a good Ashe, that sort of thing, or a lower on the ladder. That's the hero you're comfortable with. You're trying to use that as a poor substitute for one of these two, or even a poor substitute for Brig here. Lucio, Moira, it's really not their time to shine. So I hope that makes sense. If you guys have questions, go ahead and throw them up in chat now, and I will answer them, respond to them. You know the drill. So, Val says, Temporal, I dropped to bronze again. I'm so sorry to hear that, Val. I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope things get better for you. I really do. I really do. Bless says, no, not enough VOD reviews. Zen is OP. Lucio throw. Zen is pretty OP. It's hard. If I was really scaling just towards the top of the ladder, I would probably go Zen is actually the more influential of the two supports. If I was in hey, I have 2 support players on my team, and they're going to play Zen and BAP, and they're both equal. They're both can say, hey, they're equally good at Zen, equally good at BAP, I would probably want my better support player on Zen. Unless it was a thing of, hey, the Zen is... That might not be fully true, because I might then see my Zen swap over to Brig if the situation gets too hot, if there's too much danger coming in, and then, my BAP would become more influential. But, while they're both on the field, the Zen probably is more influential. Zen is probably the one where you can take over a little bit more effectively, a little more powerful, but they're both very, very powerful heroes right now. Play Zen, hit top 500, play BAP, hit GM. That would be one way to think about it. The reality is you're going to hit top 500 if you're good enough on both of them without too much trouble. But yes, at the very, very top, Zen is going to be better. Play Lucio, burn in bronze. I don't know about that one. Play Anna, hit Masters. I mean, there's there's more Anna play here than I would have expected. Like, when I pulled this open to take a look, you know, I instantly went, oh, it's for all the hog that we're seeing. But I was surprised. I didn't, before looking at it, necessarily put together, oh, yeah, there's going to be a ton of Anna, of course, because, hey, I wasn't thinking about the hog element at that point. The reality is, these two are better, the Zen and the Bap there. What else do we have going on? Join late, is Bap Anna viable? So the answer for Bap Anna is you can play Bap Anna together. Bap Zen is really better, like it really is. When Bap Anna comes into play, it's really a case of the opposing hog is just going wild and you feel like you need to control him because the opposing hog is just dominating your team and Anna does have the best toolkit for doing that. Bap Zen is more total value. If you're going, hey, I want to exert the most influence I can on this match, I want to do that sort of thing. Anna really is a specifically for ladder. I'm trying to answer the hog that is just doing too much is the best player on the opponent's team thing. But she does work. As you get down to the metal ranks, yes, she will work as well. She can protect herself a bit better than Zen. And you may not feel, as the Anna player, that you can afford to go over to Brig and trust Bap to do enough to justify you protecting him. Because when you're playing someone like Brig, when you're playing someone like Mercy, you're sort of infusing your value into making sure someone else is successful. And if that person isn't successful, even when you infuse your value into them, that doesn't really work. So you might find yourself on a, hey, it's not safe enough to play Zen. I'm going to play Anna. This isn't amazing, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because I don't think our BAP is competent enough for me to justify playing Brig for them. Or I don't think our Echo is competent enough for me to justify playing Mercy for them. So we're going to play BAP Zen, that sort of thing. So viable is a stronger word than I like, but it's not a throw to pick Bap Anna in specific situations of the enemy hog is just carrying and needs to be shut down, or hey, I'm in this situation. I don't think the BAP is doing well enough, is strong enough to justify being protected by a Brig, but it's too dangerous for me to be on Zen right now. Just delete Mercy, Moira, and Lucio. That's unfortunately kind of true right now. I think Rack is doing okay. Rack Attack? Let me take a look. Yeah, Rack Attack's got the Mercy, and then how much Mercy is he getting to play? Private. Okay, fine. That was it. I mean, these two are clearly both main support players, and you can see they're main supports that are getting a fair amount of BAP time, because most main supports have learned BAP, because you kind of need either a BAP or a Zen. And you can see that they, on the first page, and this isn't unusual, we can see the first page is pretty loaded up with flex supports here. We mostly see, hey, these are flex supports that are heavily seeing use. That's not too unusual when you're trying to push up, because getting to 4,700 is not simply about, oh, I have to be good. You have to actively be taking over and winning the games to try to push from 44 to 4,700. You can't just be like, oh, I'll do my job really well, I'll do exactly what I'm supposed to. You have to start exploiting the other team, you have to start doing stuff, you have to actively make the other team lose to really get over that gap. You play it a little bit differently than you might play in a team where you start going, no, I have to try to carry every match effectively, and flex supports are better than that. It's not terribly unusual to see the flex support favorage on the, top few spots here. As we then get down, we see some of the better main supports are going, hey, they're going to do it. They're going to do it quite nicely, but it's not unusual to see them a little bit behind some of the top flex supports there. If they do want to push, you'll frequently see them push with heavy BAP time. Okay, let's take a look. What do we got? Just delete Mercy, Moira, and Lucio. We covered that. Remember when I said my next Mercy review will be plat? Can I concede and have Coach bail me out? Of course. I'm never holding you to those. I don't think you should be going, hey, I'm not going to do it until this, because you set yourself up, a little bit for panic, that sort of thing. Okay. APM trading. Is you on 430 peak APM? Okay. Zen, Batbana are all viable. Brig 2, the rest are throw picks. Okay, I think we basically covered what we need to there. If people have more questions, throw them up now. If you're enjoying this type of content, please do drop a like. Consider subscribing, as that does help out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate it. If you're looking to get coaching yourself, you can join my Discord in the description below, see what rates look like, see what sort of promos, special events we have going on, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks.